through our practice, we want to understand what is the nature of dukkha, how does it arise, how can I deal with it, how long is it going to last, what will make it go away, etc., etc. So pain is one of the types of dukkha. And there are two things about pain. One is the experience of pain, and two is the way that we react to it. Right? There are two things. One, we experience pain, and then second is how do we respond or how do we react to the experience of pain that we have? Well, it all depends, a lot of it, on the type of pain or the level of pain. But most of us learn at some time or another there's a lesson within the pains that we have, and we learn something about ourselves and about how our mind functions and about how we're behaving in our practice or in the world based on the kind of pain we experience. So, specifically, when it comes to doing practice and getting injured by someone who's helping you, this is not good. I don't think there's really anything good about this. And sometimes, and I know from my own experience, because occasionally I teach a little yoga, not too much, but on occasion I have taught some, and there has been times in the past where I've been helping someone and they've gotten hurt. In that situation, for anyone who here, there's some yoga teachers here I know, so whoever happens to be a yoga teacher, if you happen to hurt someone when you're helping them, take my advice. As Groucho Marx said, take my advice, I'm not using it. But no, seriously, take my advice on this. Never blame the student for them getting injured when you're helping them. Thank you. Okay? If someone gets injured while you're helping them, then this is always unfortunate. And usually, but not always, usually it's avoidable. So if we're careful and we're really tuned into people, then we don't have to hurt them and they don't have to get hurt. Now, I know that a lot of people got injured practicing with Guruji. I experienced pain practicing with Guruji, but never from anything he did to me. Usually the things that happened when I got an injury practicing with Guruji was when he was standing next to me and I was trying to do something to impress him. This is how I tore the meniscus in my knees the first 2 times. Right side and left side. So if you relax and if you surrender and if you don't fear, then generally when you don't have that resistance, if someone is helping you, for the most part, even if it's a really bad adjustment, nothing will happen. If it's a good adjustment, it's better. But if it's a bad adjustment, nothing will happen. Then there are also the cases where you are helping someone in the best way possible, and something needs to happen. A hamstring is ready to pull, or a knee is ready to pop, or a shoulder is ready to twist, and we don't know why, and it happens. So, practically speaking, on the side of the teacher, if you're helping someone and that happens, the best thing to do is to be kind and understanding and not blame the student, and not say, don't resist and you won't get hurt. Don't put it back on the student, because that's really doesn't make the student feel good. You know, if you've ever had that happen to you, you will know that there's no reason why we should need to take on the responsibility for something that someone else did to us while we were in a yoga pose. So that's one thing. The second thing is, okay, so after you have some pain, or maybe the pain is self-inflicted, does it need to be there? Is pain a necessity in Ashtanga Yoga? Well, you know, is pain a necessity in anything? Anytime we do anything physical, there's going to be some possibility for getting pain. As I said on the first or second day, one of the most painful injuries I ever sustained was when I was answering a telephone, cooking at the same time. Pulled a rib. So is cooking dangerous? No, talking on the phone is dangerous. Don't do it. This whole thing that's happening now in America with the articles about how yoga can wreck your body and how yoga is bad for men and for over-flexible women and et cetera, is just bad science for the most part. There were 723 visits to the emergency room in 2012 for people who had been injured in a yoga class. 723 visits to an emergency room for people who've been injured in a yoga class. And there were over 525,000 visits to the emergency room for people who had hurt themselves playing basketball in 2012. This is in America. In that same year, 1,000 people died from falling down a flight of stairs. So I think we're doing pretty good. Okay, so when we are more vigorous in our practice, there's a higher potentiality for getting injured. As we do the practice for longer and we start paying better and better attention to what we're doing and how we're breathing specifically, the possibility for getting injured is going to reduce. As you learn how to strengthen and balance your body and move intelligently and not go beyond the limits of what you can do, then the rate of injury and the rate of pain that you get in your body is going to reduce. Will you still get sore? Probably. I wake up sore from doing nothing, just sleeping you get sore. So that's the nature of the body, is to feel things. So, I don't like to get, just in answer to the question that was asked of me, I don't like to get overly romantic about the notion of pain in practice. That it's necessary, that it's this, that it's that, or the other. Pain is a condition of life, and it's going to come. And if it comes, we have to learn how to deal with it in the best manner. If you're a yoga teacher and you happen to hurt someone in class, you should also be able to help fix them, too. That's an important thing. And if you hurt yourself doing something, you should be able to try to figure out how to fix yourself doing something as well with yoga. One thing we don't want to do is we don't want to keep on injuring ourselves in the same way again and again and again and again and again. That just means that we're not paying attention. If we're not paying attention, then we're not doing yoga. Simple. Yoga is an act of paying attention. All right, so then, what is the best way to deal with pain? Well, just to refer to Patanjali for a moment, Patanjali says 3 sutras in regards to doing asanas. The first one he said, the asana should be stable and happy, sukha, filled with good space. And then, next is, there should be a relaxed effort within the practice, and we should focus either on the infinite or focus on the end of the breath, meaning where the exhale ends and turns into the inhale, and where the inhale turns into the exhale. So, a relaxed effort, meaning not that you don't do anything, but your effort is without tension, your effort is without anxiety, your effort is without stress. That's what a relaxed effort means. Sometimes when you hear relaxed effort, you think, I should just chill and not really try very hard. That's not what a relaxed effort means. Relaxation is the opposite of anxiety and stress and tension. So you do things in a pleasant manner, but you still apply energy. And this concentration on the end of the breath. So then what happens, if we can manage to do those things, then there's a tato dvandva anabhigata gataha, which means there's a transcendence of a reaction to the pairs of opposites. What are the pairs of opposites? Hot and cold, pleasure and pain, success and failure, honor and dishonor. Punk rock and disco. Okay? So you transcend the volatile reactions to the pairs of opposites. That means you don't get overly attached to something which is pleasurable, and you don't become overly averse to something which is painful. You're balanced. You have equanimity of mind towards those pairs of opposites. So how does that come? That comes just from doing practice. It comes from breathing and moving and paying attention to what you're doing. Especially the breath is important because it's through our breath that we can measure our effort. If you are running out of breath or you can't breathe properly in a pose, then either you're trying too hard or you're doing too much. That's all. If you are doing the right amount in the right way, your breathing will be in the proper ratio to what it is you're doing. Now, as you apply more effort and work harder, your breath will naturally speed up. As you go slower, the breath will naturally slow down. But if you are trying too hard or straining, the breath will become jagged, or it will stop, or you won't be able to take a long enough inhale, or you can't completely exhale. So watch your breathing. And if you watch your breathing, you'll know what is the level of effort that you're applying, and are you doing something with too much force. And if you can catch yourself in those moments, then you can avoid injury. That's basically all there is to it. So yes, I've injured myself on many occasions, and the occasions when I have injured myself are because I wasn't paying attention, or I was doing something to impress Guruji, and of course you can't impress Guruji. One time, I was doing Chakrasana, which is this pose where you have one leg behind your head and then you lift up and you touch your knee on your chin. And there weren't many people like in Lakshmipuram then. There were just a few people there, and I was doing this pose, and I thought I was doing it really well. In fact, I was certain while I was in it, I thought, I'm like nailing this pose. I'm fucking killing this. This is awesome. So out of the corner of my eye, I just looked over at Guruji, you know. Because I was practiced in this corner right here. His chair was right there. Not much further than that, because it was a small room. So I'm in the pose, and I look over at him out of the corner of my eye. And then he sees me looking at him, and he gets up and he lumbers over and he said, I saw you looking. This pose is not correct. Touch your chin and look at your toe. I had my nose, you know. Touch your chin. He was impossible to impress. Very rarely could you impress him. So, okay, so anyway, I don't know if that's necessarily a helpful answer. A couple people asked me about pain. Those are some of my general thoughts. Philosophically speaking, this is addressed completely in the Yoga Sutras. That pain is a certainty in life. You shouldn't go looking for it. And if something is inflamed, whether it's an emotional pain, a psychological pain, or a physical pain, you shouldn't keep irritating it. You know, if you have knee pain or something, don't keep testing and going, oh yeah, it still hurts. Oh yeah, it still hurts. Yeah, it still hurts. And the same thing, if you have an emotional pain, don't keep digging into it all the time. So what do you do with the pain? Guruji said, just let it be, you know. Acknowledge that it's there. Don't keep irritating it. Just allow it to be there, and then see what you need to do to let things settle down. And then as it settles down, you'll get some space. And then you can figure out how to fix it. You can all figure out how to fix all of the pains that you might have or that you might encounter when you start to slow down and just pay attention. You'll automatically know what to do. Where you put your awareness, where you put your attention, what you put it on, that thing itself will teach you what you need to know about it. Like no one can tell you necessarily how you can heal any aspect of your being. We can give some pointers, but when you start to put your awareness on that thing will start to teach you something about it, and then it will give you inner guidance. You create that space and you learn something from your experience, and then you know. And then it starts to work itself out. Okay, that's what sukha is. So, then later on in chapter 2, Patanjali says, Heyam dukkam anagatam. That all this stuff we're doing is so that we can prevent future pain or the repetition of the same types of things from happening again. Heyam dukkam anagatam, the avoidance of suffering yet to come. What kind of suffering? The same type that we keep putting ourselves through now. That when we learn that we cause the same types of suffering, in our mind and in our body from not paying attention or by constantly putting ourselves in the same situation again and again and again, when we recognize those habits and patterns of putting ourselves in situations where we set ourselves up for pain, when we recognize that, we can stop doing that. And then we avoid experiencing that same repetitive pain again in the future. Okay, makes sense? That's what Patanjali said. Ayam dukkam anagatam. The avoidance of suffering yet to come. What type of suffering? The suffering based on aklishta or painful patterns of mind that for whatever reason we have established inside of ourselves. Unwrap the patterns, slowly pull the threads out from the patterns that are knitting them all together, create that space, understand, and then we don't have to go through it again. Okay? So that's really all I have to say about pain.